Great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here in person. Those of you who make the trek out and enjoy the beautiful food and offerings. It's so to have the larger community. And just so you know, we are live streaming this, like Val mentioned, and we're going to have a mix of presenters. So we'll have speakers here in person, as well as a couple of monks calling in from Zoom and some other presenters. And to kick things off, I'm going to actually turn it over to Jamila. He is the KBV board president, and he's been part of KBV since its founding all the way in 2012. So turning it over to you, Jamila.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Olivia. And welcome, everyone. It's always wonderful to see everyone join the Katina celebration, all the members of the community from the lay community as well as the monastics. So it's always a special and auspicious moment for all of us. And, you know, for me participating on the board, I also want to thank the fellow board members. I always, as we step into a board meeting, think it's going to be a good experience. And I always get corrected, it's a great experience. So all of that's due to the wonderful work of my fellow board members, the Ayahs as they join, and then the other folks as well. So thank you all very much. One of the things as we step to you know, the future, it occurred to me that a couple of days from now, it's Halloween. And one of the things that I remember that's very nice about a Halloween experience I had was when my kids were quite young, I walked into them in the kitchen. One of them was 2 years old. He was on the ground. The other one was on a step stool. He was about 3 years old. And the older one was about 4 years old, and she was on the countertop. And my wife had put this gigantic jar of M&Ms just out of reach, and it was too heavy for them to bring down. So my daughter Nalini would grab a few M&Ms, she'd pass it to Taj, and then he'd pass it to Surya, and they'd put a bowl next to Surya for him to put the M&Ms in. But what they found is that when the M&Ms got to Surya, who was about 1.5, 2 years old, he just tossed it into his mouth. So when I walked in and watched them doing all of this, they froze, they looked at me, I looked at them, and then I walked away, and then I heard them say, Surya, stop eating it, stop eating it. And then when I was talking to Nalini later on, I said, well, what was going on? And they said, well, we found out that Surya kept eating all those M&Ms, so we tried to just pass them faster and faster. So that way he couldn't keep up. And I said, well, did that work? And she said, no, his cheeks were too big. But one of the things that I learned listening to that was really two different lessons. One is they certainly weren't worried about dad discovering their operation. But the second thing that I really learned was that they had a tremendous sense of agency in that experience. And for me, agency has been really on my mind this entire year. And as I look at myself and fortunately my practice in Buddhism, how that's shaped me. And when I think of agency, right, I really think of agency as us having control over our actions and their consequences in the world. And so when I look at agency itself in a broader context, it's really every relationship we have really with the relationship we have with ourselves really has that fundamental piece of agency inside of it. And working inside of the context of being a Buddhist, you know, understanding the value of being able to let certain things go and restore my agency has been really something that's been on my mind this year, right? Is how do I kind of get to that point where I can feel I can do things in the present without being a prisoner to all of these things that happened before me, you know? And when I look at how I could be influenced by agency, right? You see people in institutions. So even very successful people like Tom Brady, who's been playing football for over 20 years. You see him retire and come back, retire and come back. And one of the things that I really notice is as people talk about his success as a football player, I often wonder how much of that institution has become such a part of his life that he really can't step away from that, right? And there was another very famous musician, Mariah Carey, who said, she stepped away from music for a while because it became such a machine around her that the human being herself inside of that machine kind of got lost. And so when I look at these different pieces, right, whether it's institutions, right, or whether it's other experiences, I remember one time a monk was teaching me that sometimes you have all these habits that we bring forward in our life, and you have to kind of sometimes smash them on the ground because you start just repeating all those habits and you don't step into the present moment and participate in what's going on now. And being able to let go of those, is really important. So those are some of the things that have been on my mind. And as I look at being able to be grateful for this community, be able to participate in the present moment, and being able to have that sense of agency in my life, I think that being able to work with these lessons have been really important. And so when I look at, the great Eminem experience of 2008, and now the kids being 14 years older, from where they are today, one of the fun things is that Nalini's still a ringleader and she's off doing her things. Taj is still in operations and getting his stuff done. But my wife brought home a big box of macaroons 2 days ago, and then they all disappeared. And so I asked Taj if he finished them, and he said no. And then I asked Surya if he knew what happened for them, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, I thought those were all for me." So, so I think that it's one of those things where what we learn in the past can really carry forward into the present. So anyway, I just wanted to share all those thoughts as they came up, and want to hope that all of you have a wonderful sense of agency as you proceed into the new year. And I want to thank you all for being part of this wonderful community. So thank you very much. Olivia, back to you.
Thank you, Jamila. I always enjoy your stories. I know we got some good chuckles in the audience. I don't know if you were able to hear them. And now I'm going to turn it over to Philip. He is our board treasurer. Philip, over to you.
Thanks, Olivia. And thank you to the Bhikkhunis and the rest of the board again for letting me be a part of this today. I also especially appreciate the theme for this year's ceremony because it was kind of timely for me personally. This past summer, I met a monk who was visiting from Australia, and his practice really emphasizes happiness and contentment. And in my conversation with him, he mentioned several times like, "Oh, just do whatever it is to make you happy. It's a very important for you to be happy and content." And like I'm a skeptical, like that skeptical part of my mind is like, I didn't push back, I didn't argue, but I was like, that can't be that simple, like just being happy all the time, that just leads to selfishness, right? Like what am I supposed to do with this? And I remember even a few days after he left, he sent me a message saying, "Oh, so has contentment visited you recently, my friend?" And I don't know him well enough to like argue or anything like that. I just but I didn't want to say, no, I'm still suffering on a regular, like that's what I wanted to say, but I didn't know him well enough to say that. So during the summer, this was kind of like lingering in my mind, like it can't be that simple, right? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? It's got to be something more beneath the surface. And so when I saw the theme for this year's almsgiving being joy on the path, like something clicked, because recently I realized how often just in daily life, I see examples of just kindness and virtue. And like, I don't know if anyone gets this, but just seeing things like, just like I said, in daily life, sometimes I'll just get this random, spontaneous inspiration from things. And it's not even anything dramatic, but it could be like, I just meet someone and they have no reason to help me, but they just do. Like, there's nothing in it for them. Like they're just kind to me for, just out of kindness. Or seeing something on the news, like, yeah, like it could be something bad, a news about something bad, but if you really think about it, usually there's something going on behind the scenes. Like everyone has good intentions and is trying to do right. And I noticed, like, I don't pay attention to that enough. And somehow when I saw the theme for this year's almsgiving being that, I realized, I need to let my mind, like just open my mind to that more often, because like Jamila was saying, our habits and our mental habits, sometimes they're not the best ones. Well, then why don't I focus on that and build the better habits of recognizing those things, and let the mind be uplifted by those examples. So that's what I've been trying to do, like use those examples, and at the very least, let the mind settle a little easier during meditation. I like to think that part of our practice is to help us recognize these wholesome qualities and to put the mind in a good place more often. So I give a lot of credit to what the Sangha has given me. I think we all recognize, like as lay people, we can read the studies, the suttas all we want, and like try to understand it, but it's really the Sangha who gives us access to the Dhamma, and we really try to understand Buddha. So I'll end by giving thanks again to the Sangha and the community for supporting it. It's really a privilege to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yes, beautiful sentiment. Thank you. Thank you, Philip. And for those of you who don't know, Katina every year has to be offered by a layperson. I don't know if it always has to be, but I think that's how it works. Okay, yes, that is a thing. So it's not a spontaneously occurring monastic event. It is intrinsically connected to the lay community. And so every year we have someone step forward to offer. This year we have Linda Booth, who came all the way from Washington State. She's been a longtime member of BIMS up in Washington, and also a frequent attendee of the KBV Thursday night now and Saturday morning programs. And she's here to bring us into the next stage of the program.
So welcome again, everyone. Not close enough, probably, right? Welcome again, everyone. When I offered to help with Katina, it was really a spontaneous reflection of my gratitude that I have for the teaching and for the support that I've gotten from Ayya Santusika and Ayya Chitananda over the years. In these last months, working with them has really been a joy, as well as the other people on the Katina committee, both who are here today. I don't see them, but Lillian and Kate, as well as so many other volunteers. I was just amazed by the number of people that came forward to help with one thing or another. Also, these last couple months, I really gained an awareness of just how much work and energy has gone into creating this beautiful place of practice. So for me, today is really about celebrating our interconnectedness, and also offering our support to Karuna Buddhist Vihara. So I'm very privileged to be a part of this year's Katina.
So now Ayya Chitananda and I will introduce the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis that are here. And we're going to be a little bit spontaneous about this because it is true that there's been a lot of work and we haven't had a chance to talk about this part. So here we go. I think I'll begin with Ayya Santachita here on my right, who's working with her Sangati right now. And, this part isn't the real bio part. This is the heartfelt connection part, Aya Sanchachita has been a dear friend of ours since 2007, and we met at Amaravati, and it has been a wonderful thing to have such a friend in the path in the Dhamma. So thank you so much for coming, Aya. I guess on my left is Ayananda Bodhi. Most of you, I think everybody here pretty much has been to her teachings or heard her speak on Zoom or something. She's a very good teacher, well-loved, beloved teacher. I don't know. I met you in 2013, maybe? Oh, I came to your ordination. That's right. 2011. Okay. Yeah, and they've been such a good supporter for me. Both Aya Nandabuddhi and Aya Santachita were my chanting acharyas for my ordination. So I have an extra special warm fuzzy spot for them. And she's on her sabbatical year, adventure time. Yeah, close to it, very close. And then I'll introduce Anagarika Bethany. She's been in Anagarika for maybe a month, which is great. I mean, seeing her today come in, or yesterday come in white with a shaved head, just made my heart sing. She visited us and has been online with our community for quite a long time, and visited us recently. And it's been a joy to get to know you, and we really appreciate you being here today. So on mine, since we're going in no particular seniority order, I think I'll start with Bhante Jayasara. And I've known him since 2016 or something, at the Western Buddhist monastic gathering that we met at Spirit Rock. And he's a very dear Dharma brother. He likes to come visit KBV sometimes, so he's planning to come in April next year, I think. April or May, Bhante, something like that. Okay. So maybe you can come visit him in person when he's here later. And then it looks like we have Ajahn Kovilo. And of course, and he's going to share some Dhamma with us in a little bit. And Ajahn Kovilo, and I'm going to leave the next one to Aya Chidananda, but Ajahn Kovilo has been, I think I've known you since you started monastic life, a little bit at least, and he's been a very, very beautiful example of living the holy life with great calm and kindness. And I've always appreciated your solidness and the sense of trust I have in you. Thank you so much for coming. I didn't see Anagarika star in there. Yeah, she's a bit dark.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in a car.
No,
The
that's
top middle.
no, that's
Uh-huh.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ajahn needs to go now. He just had his 10-year anniversary as a bhikkhu. So Ajahn Nisabo, I don't think is speaking today, but it's nice to see him pop in for this part. Thank you for coming. And he and Ajahn Kovilo are up at Clear Mountain Monastery, which they're looking into finding a physical location, but they're up in Seattle and they have a very thriving, lovely group of supporters, and we like to go visit when we can.
Thank you for welcoming us, Aya. And I'm sorry I can't stay for very long. I'm in a car, which is obvious from the car. So, but I did want to tune in and just express my support and gratitude for the Kali and Nimit and relationship.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you for coming in the middle of everything else that's going on. And Ajahn Kovilo and Ajahn Nisabo really are brothers of ours, and they invited us to be advisors for their monastery project. They're interested in having a really genuine, heartfelt relationship with bhikkhunis. And so it's really quite an adventure to explore together what it looks like to have the fourfold Sangha showing up in harmony and mutual respect. So thank you both for all that. And
Thank you
Anagart,
for inviting us.
yes, Sajat.
Oh, just thank you for everything and for the invitation.
You're welcome. And now Anagar Kasarana is there. We are so delighted to be able to share that we now have an appointment to talk to the Immigration Service, and all we have to do is convince them we're the real thing. How do you think we're going to do? So I think we're going to be okay. And she's in Mexico and really waiting to come, but she's also staying at the probably one Theravadan place in Mexico with a Theravadan monk there in charge, and sounds like a vibrant community of young people really interested in diving deep into the Dhamma. So I'm glad that there is such a place and to be at the moment, and we're really looking forward to her coming. She's a really bright light on the Dhamma scene, and we're really delighted with her devotion and determination, and it's really lovely to have her join this community. And we have your kuti all ready. They just got to tour it. So thank you everyone, all monastics coming today. I think now I have another task. I'm just going to explain what's going to happen next in very simple terms. So this is the ceremonial bit where the robe cloth is offered along with all of the other requisites, and the Sangha receives that. And so it'll begin with the monastics here calling the devas. So I always have the feeling that we have a lot of spiritual beings here in this forest, and this chant actually summons them forward, whether they're in the mountains or the forest or the fields or the villages. And it's an acknowledgement of the vast collection of living beings in this realm and other realms, and they're also interested in Dhamma. So it's inviting them to join us and bring their own blessings to this auspicious occasion. And following that, we'll have an opportunity for everyone to recite the refuges and the precepts, and they're in your program. So I hope you have programs. Did the programs ever come out?
I think they're on the shrine.
Could someone run into they were in the kitchen. So fortunately, we have a chance to get them. And many of you probably know them anyway, but we'll just hold on for a second until they show up. So one of the things that has been really touching is that these last few years we've had Katina. In the beginning of KBV, this didn't happen. And as Olivia said, it only happens because someone in the lay community steps forward and says, let's have a Katina. We want to celebrate the fact that you've spent another year keeping the monastery going, and we want to make sure that continues. So that's how this occurs. And it's been inspiring and touching and really amazing. I think that here we are, more than 10 years, still thriving, and it's all thanks to this broader community.
Years ago, we started in that we started in Lincoln 10 years ago. Is it now?
Yeah, it was 10 years last spring. So now we'll have the calling of the devas. Paritava nametang sameta padanta avikita cita paritang panantu samantra cakravale suatra kachantu devata sadamang munirachasa sunantu sakamo kadang sake kame charupe kirisi karata te chantali ke vimane diperate chagame daruvana kahane ke havatumi kete Pomma chayantu deva chalatala visame yakaganta panaka ditanta santikeyang munivaravachanang sadavo me sunantu Buddha dasana kalo ayang badanta Dhamma savana kalo ayang batanta Sangha parirupa sanakalo ayang batanta. So now I think maybe someone in the audience knows the request right up there at the top of the inside of your program. And maybe Mayra or yeah, I think would you be willing to kind of lead? You don't have to use a mic if you don't want to. You can do whatever.
So we should all bow 3 times together. Bow. And then we can all chant together. Mayam ai tisarena saha pancha silani yachama dutiyampi mayam ai tisarena saha pancha silani yachama Tatyampi mayam aye tisarena saha pancha silani yachama.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi Buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatyampi Sangham saranam gacchami.
Tisaranang gamanang nikitang.
Rama Ayan.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Mamajam Veramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from
Taking the life of any living creature.
Adina dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana Veramani Sikapadam Samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Kami sumichachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kame sumi chachara veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from false and harmful speech.
Suramarayama japamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majam hama tatana veramani sikapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Imani pancha sikkhapadani silena sugatinyanti. Silena voka sampada. Silena nibhutinyanti tasma silani sodai.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So now there'll be the very brief ceremony, which is the case for all the Theravada ceremonies, really. They're very simple and brief, but quite powerful, I find. To offer the requisites, the robe cloth, and other requisites. And so it will begin with the tray that Linda's holding being passed around to everyone, so you add your own blessings and offerings to it. And while you do that, we will chant. Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Buddhampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Would you all join in with me for Namo Tassa? Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Venerables, I present this katina cloth and all the other offerings to the community. It would be good if the community would accept these offerings and continue to develop KBB and offer the Dhamma for our long-term benefit and happiness.
We're going to chant a anumodana expression of gratitude and celebrating your goodness and generosity. Kale dadanti sapanya vadanyu vitamachara. Kale nadina ngariye suhujubute sutadisu. Vipassana manatassa vipula hoti dakina. Ye tatta anumodanti vaya vachang karonti va. Nate nadakina hona te pipunya sabhagino. Tasmadate appativana citto yatta dinang mahapalang. punyani paralokasmi patita honti palinanti. Bhavatu samba mangalang rakhantu sabha devata samba buddhanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te bhavatu samba mangalang rakhantu sabha devata samba dhammanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te bhavatu samba mangalang rakhantu sabha devata samba sanghanu bhavena sada soti bhavantu te.
So we have the honor of receiving teachings from monastics today. And we're going to begin with Ayananda Bodhi, whose beautiful chanting you just heard. I'm just going to tell everyone a little context about the people that we are getting the privilege to hear from. And it's people come from far away, both online and physically, and from different kinds of communities. So hopefully this is helpful. So Ayananda Bodhi began monastic life 30 years ago at Amaravati Buddhist Monastery in England. Since 2009, she's been involved in the experiment of Aloka Vihara, which many of you may know, about 4 hours from here. This was a training monastery for women, and it's been a source of healing and growth for her, and I'm sure for many others. Aya is currently in the process of bringing the Aloka Vihara Forest Monastery to a close and preparing for sabbatical time to refresh and deepen her meditation practice. Thank you, Aya, for speaking today.
So the theme, joy on the path. So the invitation was to speak a little bit about what brings pleasant eating, like ice cream. So what brings ice cream? What brings joy on the path? Little ice cream now and again. Yeah, so many things actually. I'm sitting here in this beautiful forest, and it's like, what brings me joy? Sitting in a forest brings me a lot of joy. I really deeply love to be in nature. And there's something about the ever-changingness of nature that, for me, just brings me right in touch with the Dhamma immediately. It's so just to sit here with the trees moving and the sun passing, and it brings me joy. And then another thing that brings me a lot of joy is being in community. Joy and challenge, both, have to be honest. But it does bring me a lot of joy. So it's like, oh, and here we are, very lovely. Dhamma community sitting together in a forest. Devotional chanting brings me joy, expressions of devotion. We just had a 10-day retreat at Aloka Vihara, just finished day before yesterday. And sitting in meditation with other practitioners and discussing Dhamma together brings me joy. Traveling actually brings me joy. There's a certain edge of stepping into the unknown that has a certain element of joy for me. Again, I think it's so aligned with the Dhamma. You know, the Dhamma is like ever changing. It's never, it's not fixed or solid, and sort of, you know, there's a sort of tendency of the ego to want things to be known and solid and fixed, and then the Dhamma is always just unfolding and unraveling and revealing. So for me, there's a certain joy in being on that edge of emergence, of not knowing, of seeing what's going to come next, and of trusting also the practice already done, you know, the fruits of the practice. That when we practice well and as we can, the fruits of that practice support us in whatever the next moment is bringing. So there is a certain joy for me in that edge of emergence, and I'm sort of in that edge right now in my life. So it's an interesting time. Yeah, and being with spiritual friends brings me joy. So it's a blessing. Yeah.
Thank you, Aya. And next we'll have Aya Santachita here on my left. Aya Santachita trained in the same monasteries of the Ajahn Chah lineage as Aya Ananda Bodhi and also Aya Santisika. And she co-founded Aloka Vihara Forest Monastery in 2009. Currently, she is developing the Aloka Earth Room in San Rafael, California, a contemporary temple space synthesizing Dharma, ecology, and art.
So yeah, I'm also can relate to what Ananda Bodhi said about, you know, being at the edge of emergence, and that is a really joyful experience, and sometimes also a bit scary, of course, because you never know what's gonna come. And I've had my sabbatical last year, and you know, I have really been contemplating deeply what would bring me joy, you know, what I would like to do with after having been a nun for over 30 years. I would like to kind of offer, you know, the remaining years, which there are maybe some left, you know, how I would like to offer that. And this Aloka Earth Room is you know, what has come forth for me, and what I feel very much touched, you know, what's going on our planet, and how much nature, you know, which is here still so pristine and beautiful, but there's so many other places where it is no longer like this. And you know what that means for us as human beings, and also for all of the animals, and for, you know, future life on this planet. And I feel really joy if I can contribute, you know, to something to make this process more smooth. And so I came up with this idea, or I received this idea of the Aloka Earth Room, which will be a place dedicated to digesting and metabolizing all of this information, because there's already more than enough information out there, but it seems to be difficult for human beings to really take it in and then act on that information. And so that's where I would like to put in my energy over the coming years. And joy is, besides, you know, a very pleasant and energizing experience, it's also one of the 7 factors of awakening. And it's just right in the middle, you know, the first 3 are mindfulness, investigation of Dhamma or interest, and energy. And then if those 3 come forth, then joy is a natural result of that. And then if the mind experiences joy, the mind naturally settles down because it feels enriched. And then when the mind is settled, it can collect and stabilize, and also have a sense of equanimity, equilibrium, which then again, you know, enables the mind to have more mindfulness. And it's like a spiral, you know, going deeper and deeper into reality. So joy is a very important ingredient for waking up, because it opens the mind up, gives the mind like a sense of awe, a sense of contentment. And it's, you know, many people are not aware how important that an ingredient it is. And I think it's great that you made that as a theme for this Almsgiving, for this Katina, to remind us all how important joy is, and you know how important it is that we embody the practice in a way which brings us joy, but not, embody it because somebody else is telling us we should do it that way, but what really aligns with our own innermost aspirations. And having the 5 precepts and the 3 refuges as a foundation, it can't go wrong, really. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Aya. We're now going to turn over on Zoom to Ajahn Kovalo. Ajahn Kovalo entered monastic life in 2006 and trained in Ajahn Chah lineage monasteries in Thailand and the US, as well as spending a year at Pa Ak Sayadaw Monastery. Currently, he is studying Pali and Sanskrit, among other courses at Dharma Realm Buddhist University in Ukiah, California, and is also co-creating the new Clear Mountain Monastery, which I mentioned earlier in the Seattle area. So Ajahn Kovalo, thank you for speaking to us.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Sister Ayas and brother Bante, thank you. It's good to see everybody, and good to be able to join in via Zoom remotely. I would love to be there in person. I'll be going to see more of my Kalyanamitta good friends this evening, just in an hour or so at Abhayagiri. And as Ananda Bodhi and Santichita have mentioned, spiritual friendship is a cause for joy, for sure. And sometimes you find in these Buddhist lists, like in the dependent arising, sometimes like consciousness is the cause for name and form, and in name and form is the cause for consciousness. And it's kind of this circle feedback loop. And I think something similar, pretty much all of us know that the same thing happens with Kalyanamitta, or spiritual friendship, and joy. Kalyanamitta, having good spiritual friends, beautiful. That's the meaning of Kalyanamitta, beautiful friendship, is a cause for joy. And joy, when we have it with our spiritual friends, our sisters and brothers in robes, and with lay people, when we have joy and when we are happy, basically, in our relationships, then that strengthens the spiritual friendship. So, and something which Ajahn Punadhammo, I just heard point out that in terms of Abhidhamma, piti, which is one of the Pali words for joy, is like a karmic multiplier, or like a force multiplier for karma, in that its joy is inherently neither wholesome nor unwholesome. It really depends on what you're doing with your joy. So like, you can have a sadist who gets joy out of hurting other people, Schadenfreude, this idea of delighting in other people's misery, basically, or psychopaths delight in breaking all the precepts, basically. And so the joy that they're experiencing is basically just a spiral down, further and further down. Whereas, the more we're able to educate our joy and our delight and what we find happiness in, then it becomes this upward, more heavenly and beautiful spiral, leading us into beautiful places like the Redwood Grove there, and among friendship with people who don't lie and who you can trust, and who are very wise and who are willing to answer your questions and talk to you and advise you. And so definitely my experience with all of the venerables there is one of joy, and hopefully increasing joy over the years. And just as the venerables were talking, I was realizing that all of your names have an aspect of joy in it. And that's one of the cool things about getting a Pali name, just as a plug for anybody who's thinking about entering robes, is you get this cool new Pali name. So you've got Ananda Bodhi, which is the awakening that is joyful, or joyful awakening. And you've got Santusika, which is basically contentment, or one who is contented, but also has this element of joy one is contented and joyful. And then Chitananda, which is the joyful mind, or with Pali, anybody who's thinking about learning Pali, you can do all sorts of cool things with Pali grammatical compounds. So it could be the joy in the mind, or joy of the mind, or the joy with the mind, all these different cool compounds. And then Santachitta is the peaceful mind. And yeah, really, like, that's the kind of mind, the kind of joy that I think we're inclining towards, is more and more peaceful joy. The kind of friendships that I had before entering joy, they were perhaps more fun in certain ways, but certainly less peaceful. And just really grateful actually for the more peaceful friendships, and the more refined and subtle, and really the type of joy on this path is really, it feels like a safe one, and one which is just matures with time. And I really hope that with all of my friendships with all the venerables here, and wish Karuna Buddhist Vihara many more years of joyful practice and skillful living and relationship.
Thank you, Ajahn. It was fun to get a mini Pali lesson there too. Next, I'll introduce Bhante Jayasara, who's also calling in over Zoom. Bhikkhu Jayasara, or Bhante J for short, was ordained in 2016 by Bhante Gunaratana and studied with him for 5.5 years. He has been sharing Dhamma and leading retreats across the country for 6 years now. Bhante J specializes in showing how the ancient teachings of the Buddha are practical, pragmatic, and actionable by modern people. Thank you, Bhante.
Hello, how's my audio? Good. It's wonderful to be here. Great Mahasangha, the Fourfold Assembly. I see many faces that I remember from being there in person last year. It's good to see you all. So when Aya Chittananda messaged me and she invited me to come give a small talk, and she said, well, the topic is joy. And I said, well, I'm kind of not like one of the worst persons to talk about that, because I never talk about joy. I more talk about like patient endurance and like these kind of things. But I thought it really kind of gave me a thought, and I thought, well, what does the Buddha speak about joy? And when I looked that up, I was like, oh yes, I understand this. So I'll give you, for those of you who loved Pali, I'll give you another Pali word relation to joy. Ajahn gave you piti, and I'm going to give you pamoja. Pamoja means delight, joy, or happiness. And almost all the time when the Buddha is using this word, he's using it in relation to being free from something or letting go of something. And I want to, before I speak further, I just want to give you a couple lines. This is from Majjhima Nikaya number 7. So the Buddha says, Aya Santachitta kind of basically said this. You'll see when she was talking about the process. It says, thinking, I have discarded, eliminated, released, given up, and relinquished to this extent. They find inspiration in the meaning and the teaching, and find joy connected with the teaching. When they're joyful, rapture springs up. When the mind is full of rapture, the body becomes tranquil. When the body is tranquil, they feel bliss. And when they are blissful, the mind becomes immersed in samadhi. And so when we think about joy in this context on the path, I think about a story comes up when in my early days as being a monastic, I had some bad experiences with another young monk who I felt quite harmed me. And I was full of righteous indignation towards this other monk. And I can remember being at a meal, and we sat across from the hall from each other, and my mind, I'm sitting there with my bowl and eating, and my mind was really was thinking so negatively towards this monastic. And I was practicing lots of metta, right? I was trying to take the Buddha's advice on what to do when you have agitation towards a person. So I was practicing lots of metta. My mind was very heavy, a mind that's full of anger and agitation and aversion. If you're a practitioner for a long time, you understand what that mind is. Feels oppressive, feels like somebody is holding you against your will. And then as I was practicing and counteracting the aversion in my mind, practicing metta, and then I was released. Ceto vimutti means release of mind. And my mind was released, and it turned into metta, peace, and happiness. And I was so full of joy. I was like, oh, I'm free. I was able to let that go. And my mind was so peaceful and clear and light. It was so wonderful. Joy arose at that moment. And another aspect of joy in terms of letting go. I often speak about how we kind of have like a heavy backpack. The Buddha, there's a sutta called the burden, Vara Sutta, where the Buddha says that we carry a heavy burden. And we can think of this like having a heavy backpack. We carry all our baggage with us, our physical baggage, our material things, but also our mental baggage, right? All of the things that we hold, that we're attached to, that we cling to, we carry around this heavy backpack. And those of us who have been on the path for a long time, you probably understand the joy of this path. Over time, we start throwing things out of our backpack. We start letting go more. We don't need this. We don't need these things. We're going to let go of these. And the backpack becomes lighter, and we feel lighter. We feel more peaceful, more contentment, more joy. And even though that might not be, we're not permanently in joy because we're not all awakened, but more and more we give up our aversions and our hatreds and our heaviness, and we live more and more in joy, more and more in peace. And we really come to appreciate and have lots of gratitude for joy. And we want to be able to meditate more so we can develop our joy and be able to get into samadhi and be peaceful. So joy is a very, very important part of the path. As Ajahn said, the joy of kalyanamitas, good spiritual friends. And, not all of us, not everybody has lots of good spiritual friends. So when you find one, then you have so much joy and gratitude. Like, oh, good, I have at least one spiritual friend. So I wish you all much, much joy on your path. And however it comes, through letting go, through the meditative practice, through abandoning ill will and unskillful mind states, and through being joyful with good friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante. We now have Anagarika Sarna also calling in over Zoom from Mexico. Anagarika Sarna took precepts. Are you surprised? Are we good? I don't know.
So, sorry.
She knows. Okay. All right. Sounds like we have a willing participant. So she took precepts under KBV last year while she was finishing college. I don't know if some of you might have got to attend virtually. It was a very beautiful ceremony. And she is currently living in a Theravada monastery, like I mentioned earlier, and plans to join the Vihara as soon as immigration allows. So we're very hopeful it will be in early 2023. And yeah, Anagarika Sarna also spent the pandemic online with the KBV community. We're very looking forward to having her here. So go ahead, Aya, or excuse me, Anagarika Sarna.
Hi everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. And here we are a little bit hectic in the doing work in the kitchen because we are serving on a retreat. All the people, the young volunteers at Dhamma Vihara. But I try to look for a kind of space to watch the ceremony. And I don't know, I was reflecting on how this year I've had the opportunity to talk directly in front of a lot of people, to the foremost important people in my life. First, my parents, because they had a wedding anniversary. So I gave them some words, and I was thinking, yeah, and maybe today to your teachers. So yeah, I mean, as I was planning this, I was like a lot of joy coming and a lot of gratitude. Yeah, I was remembering a discourse of the Buddha where he explains that one of the persons that is like very, very important in our lives is the one who, through which, or thanks to, we took the precepts, the refuges, in the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha. And I remember when I met the IS and I first joined the KBB community in 2020. And it was my first direct approach to Theravada Buddhism, and the first time I took the precepts with you. And yeah, and one of the teachings, or one of the things I've learned with you and that I'm always so grateful for, is to make my life a gift, and whatever I do to make it a gift. And to make, I don't know, I've been reflecting a lot of it about making every single aspect of it a gift, even the moments that are difficult, even the moments that are challenging. And every meditation session is also a big gift to the world. I mean, like what you've taught me, like meditating and serving, learning the Dhamma, every single part of it, it's a big gift. And the other day we were on the road from Mexico City to Veracruz with Bhaktinanthi Sena, who is the abbot of this monastery. And he was talking about how it's important to serve the I don't know how to say, the sasana, or give everything you've received, all the good things you've received from the Dhamma, to try to give it to the world too. And I was like, well, that would imply my whole existence, you know. So I'm really grateful to, in this lifetime, have the opportunity to be your student. Hopefully coming back with you the beginning of the year. And yeah, I'm just very grateful for this chance.
Thank you, Anagarika-san. I now have the great pleasure of introducing Anagarika Bethany, who I knew as just Bethany online for a couple of years. And she recently joined the Aloka Vihara community as an Anagarika just in September. She will be attending Ayananda Bodhi during this transition period following the close of the Vihara. Thank you. Okay. Well, unlike the last few speakers who spoke about reflecting on this topic of joy on the path, I discovered that I was discovered this theme and that I was sharing something on it as we wrapped up breakfast this morning. So here we go. As Ayananda Bodhi mentioned, we had recently finished a 10-day retreat. And one of the things that was up was the awakening factors and the role of joy in them. And probably the primary thing that I discovered, looked at again, was that my ego is very serious. There's not, and so yeah, the ego doesn't find the joy easily, and when I can zoom out, there's a lot of joy. And today, as I zoom out and take in being here, I feel a lot of joy for this path. You know, as a relatively new Anagarika, I'm so grateful, and there's so much joy that this path exists. Like that, it feels like such a rare opportunity in this time and place, to have the opportunity to put on robes and to, you know, to step into a monastic life, and especially being here with all of you expressing your support of KBV and the monastics. And yeah, there's so much joy that this is possible. And I spent some time here last spring and last summer, and it's really joyful to come back and see the change and the growth, and to just see it blossoming, and to see this community, and to see the aliveness of this place, the aliveness of this community, yeah, and the aliveness of this path. So, thank you. Thank you. Next, we'll have Aya Chitananda saying a few words. She became Anagarika at KBV in 2015 and has lived with Aya Santusika since then, taking full Bhikkhuni ordination in 2018. Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but she is really the backbone of this vihara, literally very hardworking, persistent, diligent, talented, yes, very skilled, extremely skilled. And just a key driver of the development, bringing more Kalyanamita friends here. So over to you, Aya.
Thanks, Olivia. Yeah, we heard so many very, I don't know, inspiring talks just now. I feel like I don't have to say anything, but I don't think I'm getting away with that. So, so maybe I'll just kind of play with some of the things that already came up. I like to, when I have dukkha arise, I like to play where's the clinging, and I try to find what it is I'm clinging to that's causing it. And sometimes turning towards it is the right thing, but sometimes it's more skillful to play where's the joy and see where in my life, or even in that moment of dukkha, what's the bright side of it. And it's not to ignore what's going on, but sometimes it's better for my mind to sort of pull out of the dukkha first a little bit, and then I can see it more clearly with more mindfulness afterwards. So some of the ways I like to do that are to, as it was mentioned earlier, look for the things I'm grateful for. And living this kind of life, as Anagarika Sarana mentioned and Anagarika Bethany both said, it's like everything is a gift, both directions. So my life is sustained through the gifts of others, as we chant regularly, is true, and everything I can do as a gift as well. So it's just a very, I don't know, heartwarming, joyful kind of experience all the way around. And I also like to reflect on acts of generosity of myself and of others. And we taught a retreat a couple years ago. Ayasanta Chita and Ayasanta Tusaka and I, and Ayasanta Santusaka was saying, "You're sitting just like this, probably." Yeah, we were sitting just like this, probably. And Ayasanta Tusaka was saying, "Oh, and Ayasanta Chita on my right is the most loyal friend I've ever had, and she's just, loyal as a, well, how did you say it exactly, Jim? I know." She was born year of the dog, and dogs are very loyal. So she, I think she mentioned, and she turned to me and she said, "And this one here, she would give me the shirt off of my back." And I was like, "Oh, this one." It was this one. So it's just looking for the small things in our daily lives that we can find joy in, and not just like the kind of sensual pleasure kind of joy, but the things that we're going to be thinking about for years, and that we should think about for years, and like at the time of our death. So things that have that spiritual joy and really lift us up and lift up our hearts and our minds and help us to make progress on the path.
Thank you, Aya. And it brings me joy to be friends with you and do work with you. And if anyone needs a dose of joy, come on over. Do some work. Next we have, finally, last but not least, that would sound different the other way around. Aya Santusika, who also brings immense joy. Thank you, Aya. She is the founder and abbess of Karuna Buddhist Vihara. Aya has been a monastic for over 16 years, training in large and small communities of nuns, including Amaravati and Chithurst monasteries of the Ajahn Chah tradition in England. Over to you, Aya.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, all of you who have shared the Dhamma and your experiences. It's beautiful. And maybe I can say, hey, they said it all. But I won't. I get incredible joy when people take precepts. It's just such a beautiful thing. And it is such a beautiful thing when, like all of you who are coming here today, and the people who call and the people who come online, and today and throughout our programs, and I know that people are coming online to other people's programs, and we compare notes, and some of the same people are showing up for like many programs offered by the monastics and I'm sure lay teachers too, and it's really wonderful to be with such devoted, serious, deeply genuine practitioners. And I mean, I know how much effort it takes to come out here today, and you are definitely in the category of dedicated practitioners. And so it's a great joy to be with you and to see you come together, and all the people online. I'm not going to be able to see all your faces, but knowing you're there is such an inspiration. And I really love all the references to the joy of friendship. I can certainly attest to the importance of doing something like we're doing together. I noticed that I was referred to as the abbess, but that's not really true. I mean, we do this together, and being co-abbesses of a monastery of two is a little ridiculous, but so, it's a little more like this. Now we refer to the sign that Ayya Santachita was born under, which is the sign of the dog. I'm the sign of the horse. Ayya Chitananda is the sign of the ox. We are definitely in harness, pulling away together, and it's really a joy. That's what brings joy to it all. This gift, this monastery, this whole place, the property, everything that's here has been given freely by people, and we are the caretakers. And our opportunity is to bring forward the Dhamma in every chance we get, and that is such a joy. To be able to pay homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, to be able to rely on those wonderful teachings that are so clearly authentic from the Buddha, and to see how complete that is. And there's a sutta that says that with the Buddha's teachings, there's nothing more that you could add to make it more complete. And you couldn't, and there's, let's see, how's it go? There's nothing you could take away from it and make it better either. It's just like, it's perfectly describing reality and all aspects. And the more we study and practice and share the Dhamma and listen to people's questions and talk about how this relates to life experience, the more we see how incredibly true that is about the Dhamma, about the Buddha's teachings, how brilliant he was. And actually, that's not quite the right characterization. He saw the truth completely. And to really reflect on that, and the fact that it's available to us today still, what an incredible gift, what an incredible, beautiful, joy-filled reality. It's amazing. So every time we have a chance to talk about the Dhamma, there's just all this blessing. Every time we have a chance to reflect, whether it's on in our own lives, the challenges we come to in our own mind, or someone else who's coming to us with challenges, and we apply the Dhamma and we see relief. It happens again and again. Someone calls whose child has just committed suicide, or a couple in deep distress with each other, or you just name any kind of situation and you see the Dhamma bring relief. It's amazing. And so there's just kind of like an endless supply of joy. It's like everything that we get to engage in, if it comes from that perspective, there's an opportunity to have joy and to rejoice in it, in this incredible, beautiful association among us all as practitioners, and to be present in the world with this this great gift of Dhamma. I really appreciated everybody's reflections, and something I'd been thinking about before this moment earlier in the week was that importance of being able to discern between spiritual happiness and worldly happiness, and seeing how, and it's been mentioned already, but just to emphasize, to know, as people have said in various ways already, how to put our attention on spiritual happiness and the things that bring it to life in us, and knowing that that's really what's going to carry us to the full realization of nibbana, to the release from suffering and relief from suffering. It's noticing the difference, and making good use of our opportunities to engage in the kinds of activities and thoughts and actions that bring about that spiritual joy. They really are plentiful opportunities. So I want to thank everyone for being here, and I also want to mention that there's a piece of the program that we kind of skipped over, and now we're going to go back and pick it up. Anybody in the audience know what we didn't do yet? The virtual tour. And I just want to share that we filmed this yesterday. And we had, we gave it a run, and then we looked at it, and it wasn't very good. And I actually saw myself on the video, and I thought, wow, I've really aged. I looked like I was about 90 years old. And it's really funny because it's like, there are times when people tell me I look really young. I mean, this has been going on, I think, all my adult life. And then there are times when I look really old. And it's like, isn't that amazing? It's like, this is so totally unreliable and meaningless. And the only value you can get from whatever you think of yourself is how can it teach us the Dhamma? And perception is unreliable. And, the things we value that are falling apart, that's going to bring suffering. So where's the joy? It's in the love we have for each other, for the Dhamma, and the goodness of life. And this little tour, like many people here today came on the little tour in person, so they're going to see this kind of the same things. This little tour is just an example of the generosity of people, the hard work of the backbone of the state, and just a really strong intention that we all share to create an environment where women can train as nuns, and lay friends can visit and find the opportunity for tranquility and joy.
Thank you so much, Aya. Thank you for all your teachings, both of you. That's really the heart of all of this, why we're all here. And Val, I think we're gonna turn it over to you to queue up the virtual tour.
Hi, welcome to Karuna Buddhist Vihara. I'm Aya Santusika, and Aya Chitananda's behind the camera. She's going to be narrating most of this, and so come on in.
Okay.
So on the right, we have a sign that Emma made for the monastery. She welded it herself. We think it's pretty cool. And then over on the left is a Costco shed we put together as our first building project here. On the
We intend to make it into the library.
one day, not tomorrow. And then that small shed there is the generator shed. It houses like garden tools and things like that. And the generator's next to it behind that little fence. And there's the main cabin. And Mayor is sitting on the step. She came to help out, came to get ready for Katina. So here's the main shrine. That's the new Buddha statue that someone donated earlier this month. And we built up a shrine for it. People really like that little Buddha in the tree too. It's pretty cute. And then there's the new bell. We use it to call people in from working in the forests or from kutis. Okay, and then we have the new laundry room and bathroom down here. So this is the laundry side. It's mostly just storage, extra food and tools and supplies. Yep, like that. And then on this side is the bathroom.
Thanks to everyone's donations.
Yeah.
We have
Yep.
a second bathroom.
Cute little bathroom. A lot of you have probably already seen photos of the new downstairs because it's been there for a while, but maybe you haven't. So we're going down to the first kuti we built, and we decided to name the kutis after the 7 enlightenment factors. So this one is the Passaddhi kuti, the tranquility kuti. We picked that name because it's right by the creek and you can listen to the water and feel all tranquil and stuff. Okay. Okay. So there's a little propane heater there and a chair, and this side overlooks the creek. Come on out and peek down at the water, and in July the tiger lilies bloom right there, and you can kind of see their heads still poking up there, their little seed pods. So there's the rest of the inside. It's a bit dark because it's not electrified, but we use little lights that we can charge up and reuse the batteries on. Okay. So there's, on the right, this is kind of fun. We have a little tree cave. There's a smaller one next to it back that way, but this one is kind of fun. Ayasantuska's gonna climb in and show you for scale. So, it's kind of a nice place to meditate and cool off when it's hot outside. It does have a little skylight though. It's kind of fun, but we haven't really meditated much in here, and we're hoping to soon. Okay, on the left here is the new workshop that we put in earlier this summer. And the UTV, it's been working very hard, that thing. I've been using it to haul water and gravel and all kinds of stuff, and paint supplies and construction materials. And the green shipping container on the left we use for storage. It was here when we got here. Big old wood pile. Some of the trees were threatening the new construction sites for the kutis. They're rotten inside, so we had to take them down, and they make great firewood. So on the left here is a very nice flat tent spot that many people have used right by the water, so it's nice. And then there's the creek, and there's the rock monster. You see the little hair and the eye sockets there, and that big boulder. It's kind of cute. So these are old logging roads, so if you keep going up that way, KBV's property goes up about 5-ish acres, 4.5 acres on that side. So now we'll go see the inside of the cabin, the kitchen and shrine room. More wood that needs to get split. Love these very tall redwoods. So we'll see you inside. Okay, so here we are at the entrance to the back door. And out this way, we often have lunch back here with guests, especially during COVID when we want to social distance and stay outdoors. It's a nice spot over here. You can see in the winter, this little creek bed runs out of that culvert, and it really gushes sometimes too, so it's a tributary to Deer Creek, which we saw earlier. Okay, some wood piles. So here's the inside of the shrine room. A wood rack and wood stove. And so there's the cubbies there for guests to store their things in when they come stay. And then there's some guests staying. Hi Linda, hi Mayra.
It's tea time.
It's tea time. Is Kate around too? There's Kate. Hi. So this is the kitchen. A little kitchen. And we'll go out to the deck just for fun. You can see out here. So you can see the kuti there, and the workshop and turtle, and the sheds. And then the shrine's down there. And the bell. And the Bodhi tree. It's doing pretty well here, actually. We're excited about that. So, yep. Now we'll go ahead and show you the new kuti, the Dhamma Vichaya kuti. So we'll head on out there. So we'll head out the back again. A little side trail here. So if you go off to the right over there, that's the new construction site for the Elders Kuti on the left there. And if you go up that road, it makes a big loop, and you can get to the Dhamma Vichaya kuti that way. So we come up here. So these are the water tanks we purchased after last year's really bad drought. Someone donated for Katina, and it's been keeping us in water for the dry months of the year. It's holding out pretty good so far, but don't know how long that'll last. And then from here you can also see the Elders Kuti site that's been staked out. Construction should start this week. Okay, So that's the original water tank that was here on the right. And that's the trailer for guests to stay in. And then beyond that, you can see the Dhamma Vichaya Kuti up there. And then there's the bridge that we had mostly, almost entirely built by one woman. And we've been using it to drive the UTV across to get materials up here. And there's the Dhamma Vichaya Kuti. This is actually the spring that we usually get our water out of, but it's dry right now. So we're hoping it starts raining soon. Okay, so here we are, and we're gonna go on in. Okay, so this is it. This one's a 10 by 12 building, and it's got a little closet here that Eric built. And it's wired for electricity, but doesn't have electricity sourced yet, so we're working on that. Okay. Now we'll go up to the new site for, hopefully, that power source site that we plan to use for solar power that we can charge batteries for and wire the other kutis with. So it's up this road and we'll just head on up. Okay, so you can start to see the site for the next kuti. Do you remember what we were going to call it, Aya?
The Sati Kuti.
Ah, Sati Kuti. Okay. So there's an old logging road that goes up that way. So there's lots of space up here. And a lot of trees we want to take down that are dying or kind of already dead. For fire clearance and also for solar purposes. So that's about it. Do you want to say anything in closing, Aya?
Well, I hope you enjoyed the little tour, and I hope you can visit sometime.
You should have seen the other one. Did you make another one? Yeah, that's not it.
Well, that was extremely cute.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the official welcome to visit. And we'll now have blessing chants and close, and then that will be the end of the virtual program.
Could we do some blessing chants now? Karaniya mata kusalena yantang santang padang apisame chasako uchu chasuvuchu chasuvacho chasamutu anatimani samtu sako chasuparo cha apakicho Chasala hukavuti samtindriyo chanipako cha apakapo kulesu ananukito nachakutang samachare kinchiyena vinyo pareyo pavate yung sukinova kemino hontu sape sata pavanto sukhitata ye ke chipana puta titasava tavarava navase sati kavaye mahantava machima rasakha anukatula titava ye cha atita ye chature vasanti aviture Buddha vasang pavesiva sape satta pavanto sukhitata naparo parang nikupetanatiman yeta kata chinam kinchipaya rosana patikasanya nanyamanya satu kamikche yamata yatani yang putang ayusa Bhutamanurake evam pisa papute sumanasam pavareya parimanang metan chasa palokasming manasam pavareya parimanang utang ato chatiriyan cha asampatang averang asapatang Titan charang nisinova sayanova yavata savikata etang sating atiteya brahmametang viharang itamahutitin cha anupakamma silava tasanena sampano kame suvineya ketang Nahi chatu kapaseyang punareti Jayanto podiyamule sakyanang nandivatano Ewang tawang vichayo ho hichaya suchaya mangale Aparachita palanke si se patavi pokare apise ke sa paputanang akapato pamotati sunakatang sumanggalang supapatang suhutitang sukano sumuhi uto chasuyitang Brahmachari supatakinang kaya kamang vacha kamang patakinang mano kamang panitite patakina patakinani katvana lapantate patakine. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Buddhas. May you ever be well. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Dhamma. May you ever be well. May you have every good blessing. May all the devas protect you by the power of all the Sangha. May you ever be well. May we have another beautiful year. All of us, everyone, may the practice carry us further along the path and awaken and keep coming. Take care.
For those who are here in person and you have anything you want to offer, it's not a requirement, but now is the time that you can bring up those offerings.